Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today. Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
Well, all right. Welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast. Kevin and Chuck. Today, we're going to talk MREs. So, there's a website I found called backdoorsurvival.com. And they had an article on making your own kind of tasty MREs. So this topic that, you like it, you want to get more into it, you may want to check out the page. They seem to have a bunch of cool stuff on there. So some neat ideas. Now, MREs are kind of unique. So I know everybody, as a prepper, we all think long-term food storage and we want to have a bunch of, stuff set aside and plan for the apocalypse. Well, MREs are that, but they're different. One, traditional MREs don't really last that long. They're meant to have a shelf life of about 5.5 years. Basically, when you buy them, they say they have a 3-year shelf life, and then you're supposed to check it out. And then, go from there. And, but, either way, make them yourself. The idea is it's something that you can take on the go when you're out in the field and doing something different and you're away from your home base and you just want something that's easy to prepare and, it's all together in like an individual serving. It's just ready to eat is the bottom line. And they're ready to go. So that's kind of a cool way to do it. And it just makes life easier when you're going out and doing things. Now, I guess MREs are kind of known for being constipation causing and something that, people dread. I think that's where some of this like homemade ready to go comes in handy. Also, MREs, when you buy them online, are usually about $8 a piece, which is not a cheap,
right. And that's a good deal. You can,
for something, for something that you're replacing all the time.
Yeah.
If they're not really your long-term food storage, if they're only good for 5 years, I don't know. Do we think that the world's going to end in the next 5 years? I don't know. 25 years sounds like a safe bet to invest and risk. When you're investing for 5 years, it's kind of scary. So basically, they have. What are your concerns, Kevin? Right? What kind of stories have you heard about MREs, the traditional?
Yeah, well, I've probably spent a good month living off of MREs, and I think that's the longest stretch I ever went. I never really had any issues. They taste awful. I mean, for one, they're and they're easy to prepare. The good thing about MREs is it's high calories. It gives you all the nutrition that you need for the day. And, like Chuck said, they store well, they last well, they work well, but, you've got a hard limit on about a 5-year period. And I've bought cases of MREs, and I usually go through them. Actually, my kid loves those things.
I actually have a coworker who every night he comes in with an MRE and breaks out his 20 packets and, whatever. A lot of these aftermarket ones you buy on Amazon and stuff, believe it or not, are only like 500 or 700 calories. Now, that sounds cool when you're thinking, well, 3 meals a day,
Right.
and I'm trying to watch the gut and I want to drink some beer in addition. That's cool. But the idea is a lot of, like, in the field, they used to be, 1,500 or 2,000 calories
Right.
because, so
Yeah, you're limited on what you're going to be able to get out there. If you can get 1 MRE a day and
Right.
that can supply all your calorie needs, then
Right.
that's great. But
I mean, that's the goal. Plus, you're burning higher calories when you're on the go, when you're
Right.
not at your home camp kind of thing. So that's definitely something to consider, is what kind of calories you're getting for your dollar.
Mhm.
And something to, take into account. That was one of the things I found with these homemade ones, is she was really bringing it back to that calorie level, where you're getting 2,000 a day or 2,000 out of an MRE.
Right. Right.
And
these homemade, and they actually seem like, putting them together according to her list, you're getting better nutrition and you're spending less money.
I think by far on the better nutrition.
Right.
So let's kind of, like, in your mind right now, you're kind of like, well, I have no idea what you're talking about. What kind of things could I buy off the shelf that I can throw in an MRE and, have it last? So I'll give you an example. So the first one she's got, and it is cool the way she set it up. She's like, well, the military has menu 1, menu 2, that kind of thing, and they stick to a pattern. So she's like, since mine are different, she did it with letters, make hers unique and her own thing. So her menu A says, it doesn't really go into it. It just says gluten free, but it's got Tasty Bites Bombay potatoes. Now, Tasty Bites is the brand name, but basically it's like a little sealed packet. I don't know if you guys have seen like those Uncle Ben's rice packets that you microwave. So it's a package kind of like that. Or if you've ever done like Nutrisystem or seen somebody do that, they have like those little sealed packets, like the tuna that you get, when you go and buy like the StarKist tuna pouches. It's along that line. They have Uncle Ben, and that's at 280 calories. Uncle Ben's rice peel off, 420 calories. Now, I mean, these Uncle Ben's rice things seem to be the staple in a lot of hers. But again, it's a big calorie and a nice sealed pack that's going to last. Has Cliff Blocks, which are, the Cliff bars, but smaller, 200 calories. Kind Breakfast Protein Almond Butter Bar. Those Kind bars, you guys know what those are like. You see them all the time.
I've had those, and those are pretty good.
They're decent health and they're decent tasting, so it's kind of a win. Justin's Peanut Butter and Honey Packet. Now, I've never seen those, but I'm sure it's something we can find online in bulk or whatever. StarKist Chicken Creations Teriyaki, 70 calories. And then Gorp Trail Mix, 680 calories.
Yeah. Now, if you're buying these items in bulk and you're making multiple MREs for yourself, you can really save a lot of money on these items here.
Yeah. They also have some other good stuff. They have a Campbell's meal, ready to eat meal, and another one. Now that first one was 2,080 calories. I'm just trying to give you some ideas of other stuff in there. She has a Nutella with breadsticks, the little individual serving things that you can do with your lunches. They have. I'm just trying to look for things that are different. She has. Well, basically goes through the different like rice options and the different flavors. A lot of like fruit punch mix. A lot of guys like energy mixes to get the electrolytes and that kind of stuff. So you're able to, really step up. But I think you might want to check out the website and go through and pick out some of these menus. She really has them laid out nicely. Now, another thing that's different than your traditional MREs is a lot of the MREs require heating things up, and they'll have those little heaters that are chemical heaters.
Right.
She talks about that and says, those are kind of expensive. And when you want to add them, it really shoots your budget down trying to do that. But, we're preppers, right? You don't have a Stanley Cook kit because you're going to need that anyway to basically have a bowl and stuff to eat out. Now, a lot of these could be eaten the way they are, but without heating it up. I mean, you don't have to, the rice comes already, basically soft and cooked. That's why it's 90-second rice. It's not, you could eat it the way it is, but obviously it's not going to give you the flavor that, or whatever benefits you get out of cooking something, where it tastes a little bit better.
Right. Well, I mean, if you don't have a way to heat up water on the go, that's something you should look into anyway. There's a lot of options for that. Most of us guys can do it on a fire with a pot, but I mean, there's a lot of simple solutions to that.
You know what? You can buy those 1,000-pack of or I don't know if it's 1,000, but like it's a lot, like 250 or 500 of matchbooks for a couple of bucks. And what if you just threw a book of matches in with every one? Also, she's doing like a plastic fork or knife or whatever's appropriate in there. But again, those Stanley mess kits, some matches. I would also go as far as to add water treatment packets, the little chlorine to add to the water.
Yep.
Nobody wants to waste their time boiling water everywhere you go, and you sure don't want to get sick from it. So that's something to, consider to just throw in there. They cost nothing, and they last. Now, once you prepare an individual meal, you go and do the vacuum pack where you suck it down, and that's going to make these items last even longer than their traditional shelf life. And I think it would be very realistic to think that you would get 5.5 years out of these. You're up in the health. You're up in, the flavors of what you want. That's the nice thing. You can throw in your other things. Now, she also talked about basically having some morale packs mixed in. And the idea with that was if you're eating these kind of less than healthy meals in general, you don't get like probiotics. The morale packs, she actually was talking about maybe throwing in the individual like things of liquor, like 1 ounce, put a little Southern Comfort in with everyone, or
I fully support that idea.
Some Devil's Cut whiskey. I know Devil's Cut is brings Jim Beam to the next level. Makes it where it's not something you want to mix, but maybe something you want to drink.
That's right.
That's right. Stepping it up. Now, some of you might be like, well, I drink Jim Beam the way it is, and I'm a man and whatever. And okay, if you have low class tastes, that's up to you, right?
Yeah, fine, right.
Nobody's going to knock you for, drinking. Some people drink Busch beer, whatever.
What are you going to do? There's no accounting for taste.
I got a nephew that, is happy to crack Busch beer all day long and, whatever. If that's how you roll, that's how you roll.
Yeah. If you want to drink beer to get drunk, then there's worse ways to go, I suppose. But.
So, all right. She also talked about probiotics. So taking some probiotic vitamins or stuff like that and throwing them in. You could even put the little shot and the freaking little probiotic, maybe 2 shots if, that's how you roll. And then some probiotic or maybe some M&Ms. Now, I would try and alternate the whiskey and the M&Ms. I don't know if you need both in the same shot. I mean, I don't want you to be too happy out there. You know how life can get. But
when I was I think I was in Spain, and we were living off MREs for a while.
Yeah.
And I know people were just tearing the MREs apart
to get to the
one after another to get the M&Ms, the Skittles, whatever the candy was, and just eating the candy. So you want to be careful. You don't want somebody going through and stealing all your liquor bottles out of all the packages. But
no,
that's up to you.
I couldn't find a reference to this, and maybe it's because I'm older than dirt. But I seem to remember, didn't they used to have toilet paper in the MREs?
Yep. Back before my day, they also had cigarettes in them. But
okay,
that's
something you might want to consider. That little pick me up of having a clean butt might be something you're into. So that's something you might want to consider. I also would say maybe throw in, 4 Advil in there, or those little individual packets. I'm sure you could buy those in bulk for a good price. The little Motrin packets or whatever, or Tylenol, whatever it is that tickles your fancy, because usually if you're out away from home doing shit, somebody's going to want those 2 Motrin pills or whatever,
Right.
Somebody's going to be like, yeah, I'll take that,
Yeah. And if you're drinking, if you go through and you steal all the little liquor bottles out of there and get shitty, you're going to want the one with the Tylenol in it the next day.
There you go.
A lot of the issues with these, with the constipation and things like that when you're eating MREs really has to do with consuming enough water.
Okay.
Because a lot of these dried foods, they just don't have the moisture content that your regular food has. And, you get but you get a lot of your water from the foods that you eat. And people don't account for that a lot of the time. So
right.
It's really important to up your fluid intake when you're eating these dried foods.
That, and honestly, you're just burning through the water. They say you need to stay hydrated when you're out hiking and whatever. Well, that's kind of the idea of, an MRE is you're out doing and moving. You're not at your home base and whatever. You're probably making ground and traveling. So that's something to be aware of. And realize, hey, I'm going to be needing more water while I'm doing this. And that's where a lot of that constipation and stuff, comes from, that theory of people saying that. But you also think about, when you store stuff that stays wet, that's when you're, kind of inviting the bacteria and the things, even more.
Right.
And so that's why.
Yeah, that's why I really like the idea of the water purification tablets in these MREs.
Yeah.
I think it's a great to have, have something that you could fill up your Camelback or whatever you're traveling with water-wise.
Yeah.
With stream water or lake water.
Yeah.
And then purify it and still stay on the move.
Now, look at the directions for quantity of, how much water to, how many tablets, and make sure they're good. That information's online. We've talked about it. We've had whatever. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. So just something to check out. But basically, yeah, you want to take it and put it in. I know typically those water purification tablets say to do it 30 minutes prior. And give it time or some might be 10 minutes, but give it time to, do its thing and kill the bacteria. But that's something to look into. But basically, these could be a really effective way. And I got to say, a big morale booster when people are doing, big out stakeouts. What if you're out, scoping something, or even maybe when you're just out on watch or doing something like that, and you can't get back to the home base for the regular cooked meal, where the bulk food storage is going to pay off. That individual storage, is why these, they cost a little bit more. They're separate, they're different, but that's how it's going to pay off.
Yeah, I think, I think the prepared meals is a great way to actually get involved with what you're going to be eating. When you can pick what you want to, what you like to eat, what you want to eat. I know me, I put Tabasco on everything that people consume, everything. So, for me, throwing in some Tabasco, some of those little Tabasco bottles in each one of these would be a great idea. Other people can't stand spicy food. So, I mean, it's up to you, and you can make them however you're going to like them.
Right. And if you live in like the Southland or something like that, like I do, you might want to go and, you go to like Bojangles or something, and they have the individual packets of hot sauce and stuff like that. Maybe when you're out, you grab an extra one and throw it in the kit, or maybe an extra 3. I don't know. I didn't want to promote theft or anything. I'm just saying, when you have the extra packets, maybe set them aside, a sauce or soy sauce or whatever it is. People usually have that kind of crap laying around. I assume if you're saving it, it must be because, you enjoy the flavor of that at some point.
Right.
And
they have the mini salt packs, the mini pepper packs. Seasoning your food sometimes is goes a long way to improving the taste.
right.
A lot of these foods that you're going to be putting in these packs are going to be pre-prepared.
Yes.
And you won't need to do it. Obviously, you're not going to put hot sauce or salt and pepper on your protein bar. But as far as the instant rice or the canned chicken or canned tuna, sometimes that sort of stuff makes a difference in whether or not you're really interested in eating it, or if you just have to force it down.
Oh, that sounds
also,
right.
Yeah. Also, some of the things that really go good in this that make a difference is they have those little packets of Kool-Aid for one glass of water, or those Powerade packs.
Yeah.
That you can squirt in there. I prefer water.
Yeah.
But some of you fat fuckers really like your sugar, and you got to have it. So go ahead.
Man, that was hurtful.
Do you?
That's it though. But also, a lot of the guys are big on the energy with the caffeine and these, water additives that supposedly are the pick me up that some people need to get through things. Again, also, don't forget about the vacuum pack. And I mean, I guess worst case, you're on a budget. You don't want to buy a vacuum packer. I'm sure they're cheap on Amazon or whatever, but you could also do the regular Ziploc bag and just get as much air out of it and put it all together like that. But I don't know. I think if you're taking this seriously, spending, an extra, I think they're about $50 is what I'm seeing them on Amazon for. Spending an extra $50 to get a vacuum sealer and get this all set up. I think,
it's really not expensive, especially if you're going to use them.
And you might use it for other stuff with your preps, sealing your, vegetables and things like that. I mean, I imagine you could put together 20 of these for about $150, including buying the vacuum sealer is my point. And maybe even less. And I think if you stretch it out, you could make 100 of these for probably $200. You know what I'm saying? It's not it's exponential. It's just how much you want to get into it.
Right. Now, I know when I make up MREs for usually when I go hiking. I'll get like a gallon Ziploc bag, and everything will go right in there and sealed up. And most of the stuff I'm putting in there is already pre-sealed. It's protein bars. It's instant coffee. You can get single serving packets of instant coffee, which to me, I mean, that's a lifesaver in the morning when you're getting up and your body's sore and you're trying to get moving. A little shot of caffeine will really go a long way.
Right.
So I think there's endless possibilities on what you can do with your homemade MREs.
I think that's it. Just make it your own,
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of great food, like instant foods that you can get just adding hot water.
Yes.
And those things, those freeze-dried types of food really last a long time.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you're
you really
can definitely get the calories out of your ramen noodles or whatever. And, they're a little bulkier to pack. That's why, maybe it wasn't the quick go-to on here. Mm-hmm. But if you just want calories, that's going to help you. As far as long-term and living off it, your protein levels are going to go down. But who's to say you don't do a pack of tuna and a ramen noodle? You put those two together and you're not too far away from
getting the nutrition
both
you need.
Calories and,
Yeah, and now she had mentioned multivitamins.
Multivitamins
that had probiotics in them.
Yes,
I didn't even know that was a thing, but apparently that's I'll have to do some shopping and maybe switch up, because I like to keep a package of
I think
multivitamins.
From what I've seen, you can buy like the probiotics in a pill. And then a multivitamin in a pill, and you're just grouping them together. I haven't seen together, but I don't spend that much time looking at that stuff. I try and get it from my food, but I know you could put your Flintstones and your
and your
your
probiotic.
probiotic together in the same packet,
Right. And if you're making up these MREs, you can do one multivitamin and one probiotic in each one of these packages.
Yes.
So that even if you're getting short on nutrition, calories are important, but not everything that gives you calories, like ramen, is supplying you with any of the other stuff you need for your body to function in a healthy way.
Right. It's giving you carbs to kind of burn some energy, which is nice. But
right. And a multivitamin isn't going to do anything for energy levels.
Right.
It's just going to keep your body working properly. But if you don't have the energy to operate your body, it's not going to be very helpful. But if you have both of those.
Right. Well, think of protein as fuel. And really, I understand carbs can be fuel, but protein is think of protein as muscle. How about that? And it's going to mix protein in with, whatever calories are burning as you go and burn energy. So if you're not getting protein, your muscles will start to deteriorate, as you go through this long term. Right. So again, if this is going to be your lifestyle, you need to make sure that you're getting some protein in there. And that's where, those tuna and things like that are going to pay off.
Yeah. You don't want to be the asshole that's 3 weeks in and you're already boiling the leather from your shoes because you haven't been able to find enough to eat. If you have some stuff stocked up, you can really last a long time for a small amount of money. And I think a lot of these, a lot of preppers are, they have a couple of boxes of food, some canned vegetables and things like that. And they say, well, I'm hunting. I'm a hunter. I'll be able to get my own food.
Right.
But when everybody's hunting and there's no seasons and there's no limit on what you can shoot or what you can hunt or what you can fish,
yes,
things are going to start disappearing real fast. Probably, I'd guess that probably 70% of your neighbors are able to hunt, even at a low level. Even shooting the turkey that walks through their backyard in the morning, that stuff is going to disappear real fast.
Right. And then those turkeys, after you pick off half the flock, are going to be a little bit better at hiding. And I don't know if you've seen turkey hunters out there, but there's a reason that they're so still and in like ridiculous camouflage. And turkey hunters aren't dressed like deer hunters. You know what I'm saying?
Turkey will see you a long time before you see them generally.
Yeah.
They've got much better eyes than you do. Yep. So, it's... When it comes to that sort of stuff, it's really important to have your food preps ready to go beforehand, because it's going to be real hard to come by. And a lot of us that live in northern areas, even with a great vegetable garden, you don't have food to eat for 3/4 of the year. Your vegetable crop comes in once a year, and if shit goes down in the spring, you got a long time before you're actually producing any food that you can eat. Yeah. So I think having your stuff stockpiled in preparation, and I'll even go through my stored food, and I'll eat the oldest stuff, just to keep it rotating.
Yeah, maybe really putting the dates on these, especially at least if you batch A, batch B, that kind of thing, that you just know kind of where you're coming from. Right. If you are buying stuff for your stuff here online, make sure that the dates are going to be, fresh and current. Something to look into, or at least after you buy some, kind of think about the companies that screwed you or the sellers that, sent you stuff that the dates are questionable. You really need kind of freshness if you're thinking about this, unless you're planning on redoing it and using it every year or whatever. Right. But most of the items recommended here, though, are typically things that will keep. And again, you are adding to the freshness by vacuum packing it. So that should be it. But that's really what I got on MREs. How much can we beat it, right?
Yeah. Well, one thing I do want to mention is I do a lot of my dollar store preps, but don't get your food from the dollar store if you're prepping for long term, because it's generally cheaper because it's been sitting around for a while. Yeah. The expiration date is on the foods there usually
Right.
Much more than a couple of months out. So you want to you want to go to the grocery stores for your canned foods and things, things that you're going to be storing. I have no problem with Dinty Moore stew in a can if I'm going to eat it that day from the dollar store. But, if you're going to be putting it in a cabinet and, storing it long term, you want to really do some shopping around and find the expiration dates on the packaging before you buy it.
Oh, sounds right. Yeah, but that's it. I mean, think about your dates, think about stuff like that. And again, you can stretch stuff, but think about what it is. Obviously you can't stretch the milk that you put in your fridge too long past that expiration date. I don't know if you've ever tried that, but it doesn't end well.
Quick. Yep. Goes bad quick.
So just be aware of what you're buying. But most of this, and obviously if something needs to be refrigerated or not, it's a mistake. It doesn't belong in your MRE. Right. No matter how much you vacuum seal that's a no-go. Yeah. But that's it. So, with that, make sure you're keeping an eye on your preps and your stuff. Think about your long-term storage. Maybe this has you thinking about your food and stuff like that. Think about how you need to be rotating it and kind of going through it. Maybe go in, take a look, make sure the mice aren't getting in there and that things are holding up.
Yeah. Now,
yes.
On a side note, you can get about 20 calories out of a large mouse. So if you're setting the traps, maybe that's an idea. If you're starving to death and they're eating your food, maybe you need to start eating those guys.
I think if you turn the tables,
off, you're good.
Right.
And almost 14 grams of protein in a mouse. I mean, big enough mouse.
That's a big mouse.
I mean, it's almost 2 eggs worth of protein, but just something to keep in mind.
All right,
not bad. I don't recommend eating rodents, but I mean,
no, as a general rule,
sometimes.
All right. So with that, stay safe, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
The Survival and Basic Badass Podcast is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network.
Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today. Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.